Today's Bible study is from Mark, first chapter, verses 40 through 45, and they read as follows. A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to priests and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. Amen. Well, this is another situation where Jesus performed a miracle, but let's look at this leper because this leper had some faith. Um, if you look at Matthew 8:2, it says, "And a leper came to him and bowed down before him and said, 'Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.'" This is in Matthew 8:2. But even when you see this, consider this leper. He heard of Jesus and his faith grew. He heard of Jesus and his miracles and his faith grew because he came seeking him. He knew there was power with Jesus. He came to him for a cure. He came to Jesus for a cure of leprosy that was not being cured by medicine. And he knew he had a disease. So he still came to Jesus knowing that he could heal him. And when he got there, he fell down on his knees. Praise, reverence, understanding who Jesus was with his face to the earth. He put his face to the ground. If you look at Luke 5:12, it says, "While he was in one of the cities, behold, there was a man covered with leprosy. And when he saw Jesus, he fell on his face and implored him, saying, 'Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.'" So when he did this, he was humbled. He was in a humble state. And his soul was hurting. He came to Jesus in distress. And he came to him for an answer. And he had enough faith to know that he was the one that could answer his problem. And then he appealed to Jesus' love for us. He said, if thou wilt. And this was knowing that Jesus could. This was a conviction on Jesus' ability. "Thou canst," in order to get healed. He was saying, if you would and if you want to, please heal me. Because he knows that Jesus can do it. He's just asking for mercy to be healed. Now, if you look at Jesus, Jesus is moved um, with this man's compassion towards him. This alone source this is the alone source of all human salvation. That humility, that humbleness to the Lord, the compassion towards God that we should stretch out. So what does he do? He stretches his hand out. And that is showing this man that he is ready and willing to heal him. He is going to heal him. He touches him. And remember, you couldn't touch lepers back then. It was against the law to touch a leper. Mm. They were considered unclean. But Jesus touches him. And he proves his love and his power to this faithful man who came to him by his word and by the act. So not only did Jesus tell him he was going to do it, but he did it with his action. And he said, "I will, be thou cleansed." You are now clean. And everything listens to the Lord. And in this case, immediately, leprosy was gone. Then he told the man in verse 43, And you got to love the man for being a man. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. That was verses 43 and 44. And that was Jesus just telling them what to do. And so, so Jesus sends them away and tells them not to do it. But between you and I, Jesus knew this man was going to go speak, go brag. I don't want to say brag. Go praise and uplift the Lord for what he did for him, because he was healed. This unclean spirit that was shunned by society for having leprosy was healed by Jesus the Christ out of his compassion and love and mercy for us. And he walks up to him, and although the Lord healed him and everything else, the dude was busting out because he was healed. His faith was on overdrive. And the fact that he was no longer unclean, his life changed. Not just his spiritual life, but his life on earth had changed. Now he could do things he could not do. And to have the love of Jesus change his life here just goes in the reaction to tell you what Jesus can change, period. And this man realized it. So instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news, spreading the word. Uh-oh, did Jesus do something for you? Why aren't you out there spreading the news? As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Now, you may think this is bad, but look at what happened. The man's faith was strengthened. Jesus showed compassion and mercy. The man's life was changed. Instead, the Lord said do one thing, but he knew the man was going to do the other thing. So what did he do? It didn't say he went out and spread bad things. It said he went and spread the news. And this news was about Jesus and his love for us and how he healed him and what he did for him and how he came to him. This man was going to testify about how good Jesus was to him in his time of need. And as a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Uh-oh. No, don't forget the rest of the verse, because it says, yet the people still came to him from everywhere. So this man was helping spread the word. They didn't give a particular name. They didn't say who he was, but he was a leper. He was sick, and his life was changed by the mercy and grace of Jesus. And he went and spread the news. And although Jesus couldn't go into towns like he used to, everybody was still coming to him, and the word was still being spread. And this man probably spread the word until his dying day. Amen.